Bangladesh is the most overpopulated country in the world. 158 million packed into an area half the size of Britain. 40% is underwater. Floods kill thousands and make millions homeless every year. Desperate people flee to Dhaka, home to 16 million, Earth's most teeming city. Many cling to life without electricity, food or water. One quarter of all children under 5 die. 183,000 every year. Pat Kerr was a purser on long-haul BA flights. But everything changed after she became a regular on the London to Dhaka route. Bored at her hotel on 3-day stopovers, she went exploring and discovered a Canadian charity running an overcrowded, run-down orphanage. She volunteered to help and became a regular. The children's welcomes were always enthusiastic. Pat constantly hearing, "Pat Mummy," still her nickname today.
It's her only child, is it?
Yeah.
She's very young herself. She looks scarcely more than a girl herself.
She thinks she's about 15. She's not sure how old she is. She either signs or puts her thumbprint on 3 pieces of paper. One about medical care, one to confirm that we'll bring it up in its religion, and another one to give details of why the baby's admitted and why she can't have it. It's the 25th.
Thousands of children have been saved over the past 20 years because the village, known locally as Shishu Poli Plus, is there for them and destitute single mothers. They get aid and help for when they leave in the future.
These ladies are the mothers of the children here. And they weren't managing outside, and the babies, they couldn't look after them, maybe living in the street or in the slums. Or sometimes the babies have a medical problem that they can't afford to address. And so they live here for a while, and they learn numeracy and literacy and learn skills, and also they're safe, a safe place for a while. It's about 120 mothers, because the mothers also work here in the different sections. They don't work in childcare in the first year because we do training and stuff the first year, and they'll work in paper making or something. So they're paid a very small salary, but also every month we save some money for them. So they get everything like saris, blouses, soap, everything, food, and then they're not allowed to touch the savings till they leave. So everybody leaves with a capital sum. Usually if they stayed here 5 years, usually like 20,000 taka or 25, enough to buy a sewing machine or rent a small piece of land or do some agriculture.
Although Pat enjoys life in the village, she always seeks improvements and challenges.
But there's a big challenge. I mean, ultimately, obviously the whole idea is to make people able to earn enough and to know how to care for their children and to live in the society independently, bring the children up, going to school, doing all the things that children should have.
Pat and her team implemented fresh ideas, like schooling for families whose children live in outlying villages, as well as the residents. Educating the local community is a top priority. It's impossible to house every street child, but a new drop-in centre is popular, giving them a welcome break.
And it'll be big enough for about 30 or 40 children at any one time, but as it's a drop-in centre, children will be coming and going. So, you might have like 100 children in a day, or you might not have very many in a day, but you'll have children. The plan is it's just like an open, safe place for people to come. We're going to have a television, because that's something that we've found we've used in other areas, and people love television. So children who might not come otherwise would come, and then we're going to do our best.
Shefali was abandoned with her brother and sister when she was 10. She became a long-haul flight attendant with BA. Shiraz was one of the many disabled people rescued. He became the village caretaker. Latifa was abandoned at 18 months, and when she reached 18, got a placement in a special school for the deaf in Dhaka. Razal arrived when he was 7 and left as a trained mechanic and refrigeration engineer, now making a good living. Razia was a street kid and is now a trained nurse. The list goes on. 24 years ago, mischievous Pradeep was featured. He left the village, got married, and became a father.
You have far less abandoned children here these days, mostly the children with their mothers. We've also decided over the years, and in consultation with the trustees, they've agreed that we've got now a positive employment policy of trying to recruit back older boys and girls that have done well outside. I think it would be really, it's wrong to keep someone here and then they just live here. But if people have gone outside and made, spent 10 years and developed their careers and made a good life for themselves, and sometimes they're interested in coming back to work for us. So her executive assistant is Pradeep. And our real hope, obviously for the longer term, is that we can start having a system in place where ex-boys and girls actually run the project. That's what we're working towards. And I think that gives us a long-term sustainability which would otherwise be very hard to achieve.
The village has a big population, so they need to keep coming up with money-making ideas. One clever idea is selling cards made by the single mothers and women in the community through a local hotel chain and overseas, including the UK. Many residents on the scholarship initiative found work in the medical profession.
My name is Abul Kalam, and I am working in this hospital as an anesthesia technologist in the cardiac operation theatre.
My name is Rina Akhtar. I work as an assistant physiotherapist.
I am Halim Akhtar. I am studying diploma in nursing science and midwifery. I come from Shishupalli Plus, Sreepur, Gazipur.
My name is Stephanie. Now I am a physiotherapy assistant.
Pillow making, bed making.
So for, these women, it's a huge opportunity. We have 14 on the course, this first course, and 8 are here today. And all of them have, really fairly tragic stories. 2 of them in particular, I think Ruma and Rakina, both lost their husbands and had a fairly hard time before that. One of them, I think Ruma's husband actually died before her child was born. And in Bangladesh, when you get married, you actually move to your husband's village or home or whatever. And so, but they've actually been left completely destitute and had nowhere to go and nothing to do. So if out of this, they come, well trained with a little bit of English. The other thing is, with a bit of income generating potential, we found we're able to take some mothers back to villages they came from, and they're viewed completely differently by the local population because they're actually able to bring in some income, they have some numeracy and literacy. And whilst these days we try, most of the work you try and do is in the community, so you actually don't move someone out of their community. It's considered the wrong thing to do. But actually for a lot of these women, it's actually quite good to get them out of a very perilous situation for a while. And then when they move back, they're almost treated in a different way. whereas actually gaining that respect on a daily basis would have been much harder. So it's very exciting.
Leaving village life can be daunting, so Pat created the halfway house.
It's a home for most of our mothers with their children spend some time here before they leave because they're used to having their food cooked. So they learn to go marketing again, they learn to cook in a village oven and generally how to look after their children in a village environment.